Good evening, and welcome to Colorado Inside Out Live. I'm your host, Peter Boyles from KHOW Radio. Tonight, a very special guest with us in studio. He started out in the music business, including bringing Led Zeppelin to the States, and eventually moved a successful career in the film industry, was Bette Midler's manager, and produced the movies The Rose, Trading Places, one of my all-time favorites. He received 6 Academy Award nominations, a Tony, an Emmy, and several Golden Globes. But now he's shifted to a more political role, and tonight he's here to discuss this film that's getting a lot of attention. It's entitled America, Freedom to Fascism. He's been with us on a radio show once before. We've never met, and we've been sitting in here talking. AARON Russo is here. Thanks, man.
Nice to meet you.
You too. I mean, finally, we've been sitting here talking. He's going to be with us throughout the next hour taking your calls, but I'd like to set the film up, but we're going to take bits and pieces of the film. But we have a trailer for America, Freedom to Fascism. Before we begin, let's take a look.
What happens if your own government is using more force and more coercion on its own citizens for the purpose of achieving its political ends? Is that government engaged in terrorism?
American people expect us to protect them and protect their civil liberties. I'm going to do that.
What is being sold to the American people today as Americanism, if you peel off the label, you find so much similarity to what we were fighting against when we were fighting communism and Nazism and fascism.
The government's now putting a national ID card together.
We will be carrying our papers, and they have recommended there be checkpoints throughout the country. Some type of a physical proof, such as fingerprints or retinal prints, have to be on it.
Desires of the people really have no consequence. They go out and they vote. Doesn't make any difference which candidate they elect.
Mr. Curtis, are there programs that can be used to secretly fix elections?
Yes.
This is absolutely Orwellian. I mean, it's talking about Big Brother looking over your shoulder at absolutely everything you do.
There is no constitutional basis for a tax on the wages of Americans living and working in the 50 states of the Union. Period. End of argument.
If Americans just learned that the IRS was actually knowingly deceiving them, that would be enough for them to rise up and put a stop to it.
You caught me unprepared.
I'll come back.
No, I don't want to do that.
There had to be a law, right?
Where is the law? Show me the law.
Why is the Supreme Court decision a silly argument?
And I think we're finished.
They think it's the law, and they have all the guns. You know, it's an authoritarian approach.
Now we can see a new world coming into view. A world in which there is the very real prospect of a new world order.
The latest technology for identifying people when they make purchases is actually the implantable chip that you can actually embed directly into human flesh.
Can a microscopic tag be implanted in a person's body to track his every movement? You will rule on that, mark my words.
A chip in everybody would be the universal monetary system par excellence, because there'd be no escape from it.
Americans have been taught to expect their salvation from government instead of recognizing government as the most dangerous threat they'll face in their lives.
It is the greatest hoax ever perpetrated by government against the working men and women of America.
It's organized crime. All you do is you call the Republicans the Genoveses, and you call the Democrats the Gambinos.
See the number on the screen. Let's get underway. 303-296-1253. What did you just see? How is this film being received? You're telling me across the country.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
Standing ovations. You know, it's very rare to see a movie ever get a standing ovation. We're getting standing ovations everywhere we go. People are going crazy for this movie. They love it because, you know, there's something wrong in America. People know there's something wrong, and this movie identifies what the real problem is. You know, everybody's so polarized in America today. Red states and blue states, Republicans and Democrats, liberal, conservative, whites against blacks, you know, and Jews and Arabs. And it's not about that, you know, and the movie explains why we're having so many problems in America today on so many levels, and who's behind it, and how the Democrats and Republicans are both controlled by the same people. And it doesn't matter which one's in office.
You showed one of my favorites, Edward Griffith.
Yes.
And The Creature from Jekyll Island. We've had him on the radio show twice. It's a lengthy read.
He's a great man.
He's an amazing guy.
Yes, he is.
And I'm sure many people know, or maybe they don't know, but the Federal Reserve Bank was created on a island off the coast of Georgia, Jekyll Island.
That's right.
Where prior to the income tax being brought into the country, these very powerful men meet and they create the Federal Reserve.
Well, that's where it was conceived.
Right.
And it was actually approved by Congress during Christmas of 1913,
Yeah.
when most senators were home with their families on Christmas vacation, you know, and it's totally illegal. It's totally against the Constitution. As a matter of fact, the Federal Reserve, the Central Bank of America, is one of the major planks of the Communist Manifesto.
Well, they were warned. I mean, Jefferson warns us, and they had watched national banks at work in Europe, and they had watched what was done during the rise of Napoleon, and they had watched what was called national banks, and Jefferson said, whatever you do, don't have a national bank.
Exactly. Did not
It was a warning.
want a central bank. He said something to the effect, if you ever allow the bankers to control the creation of currency in America, your children will end up homeless in the land their forefathers conquered. You know, the banks are going to take over everything. I mean, the Federal Reserve is a private bank that the government in 1913 gave them the concession to make money for America. And when the government needs money now, they borrow it. See, here you have the government that has the legal authority to create money and not pay interest on it.
Right.
But when they created the Federal Reserve, they now had to borrow money and pay interest on money, and that's why they imposed the income tax. They imposed a tax on your labor so you could pay interest to the bankers, right? It's incredible. And people have no idea. And today the Federal Reserve is looked at as if it was this
great institution.
Great institution, highly regarded, you know, prestigious. They're a bunch of criminals. They're a bunch of criminals. They've taken over our government. He who makes the money makes the rules. And because these guys make the money,
golden rule.
It's the old golden rule. And because these guys make the money, they control our government, both the Democrats and the Republicans. And it doesn't matter whether Hillary Clinton's in office or George Bush is in office, the same things are going to happen. There are minor differences, but essentially the same thing is going to happen.
I ask you this, and phones are already banked full, so we'll get to everybody. It's going to be a great show. When does it? I mean, the old, you know, the frog in the pot kind of analysis is always used.
Right.
But what do you say? I mean, people. I mean, there are historians that view this in sort of epochs and in moments, and then this happens, and then that happens, and then this happens. Where do you see our country today involved in 2 wars abroad? We were talking about every morning how much money is borrowed. We're talking about the role of the multinationals, the illegals in the country, Bush's seeming inabilities to do anything about either of those enormous, or all 3 of those enormous issues. And where does it go next?
Where does it go next? You know, I'm not a seer, but in my view, we're going towards martial law and complete totalitarian.
You believe that, don't you?
Yeah, I believe we're going into complete totalitarian government. I believe that the American people have lost their way. We've lost our freedoms. America, I call the movie Freedom to Fascism because the definition of fascism,
a corporate state,
is big government and big corporations working together to suppress and stifle the people.
Mussolini's corporate state.
Right, exactly. And that's what we have in America today. We have a fascist government here.
I'm frightened because of the multinationals.
Well, you should be frightened because these people are controlling our lives. You know, we're no longer in charge of our own lives. Everything we do today is done by. It's like believing in a sense that America, from the beginning, was supposed to be a democracy. You keep hearing
it's a republic.
Of course, it's a republic. It's a constitutional republic,
absolutely.
Right? And if you ask 100 people on the street, what form of government is America supposed to be?
We have a democracy.
98% will tell you it's a democracy.
It's not.
And they don't get this. A democracy, 51% control 49%. It's tyranny of the majority. I wouldn't want to be part of the 49%. In our constitutional republic, 99% of the people couldn't take away the rights of 1%. You have rights because you were born. You had God-given human rights. They're your rights.
Intrinsic rights as a citizen.
Intrinsic rights. And the government can't take them away as if they're a privilege.
Where did this, I mean, I've looked at your career since you're on a radio show. I mean, you got this remarkable career in show business. A lot of stuff was coming your way.
Yes.
What happened?
What do you mean? What?
No. I mean, why did you become? I mean, I'm serious question. Was there a series of events or an issue that happened, and you went, "What am I watching here?"
You mean why did I get political?
Yeah.
My conscience demanded I get political.
But what was the event that?
There's a series of events. I mean, I'm a good filmmaker. I know how to make movies.
Yeah.
And I also understand what's happening politically. And when I saw many things that happened in this country, I've been hearing rumors for years that there's no law that requires you to pay a federal income tax on your labor. So I decided to investigate that. I called the IRS. I said, is there such a law? They directed me to their website, and there was no law there.
Yeah, but they throw you in jail if you don't.
Well, that's a police state. We're supposed to be a country of law, right? And so in my research, to find out whether there's any law that requires you to pay a tax on your labor, I discovered the chain of events and how it works. Let me explain it to you. In 1894, Congress tried to pass a tax on your labor, and the Supreme Court said it's unconstitutional and you cannot do it. In 1913, they passed an amendment to the Constitution, the 16th Amendment, which they said allowed that. Now, first of all, in reality, the amendment was never even ratified legally. But let's put that aside.
The so-called graduated income tax.
Right, the graduated income tax. That's right. They said it was never even ratified, but let's put that aside. That was 1913, the same year the Federal Reserve was born.
Absolutely.
Because in 1916, between then and 1923, there were 8 Supreme Court decisions that said the 16th Amendment did not give the government the authority to tax the labor of the people. So when I interviewed the IRS commissioner in my movie, we went through a whole series of questions, and I finally said to him, what about the Supreme Court decisions that say you can't do what you're doing? And his answer to me was startling. He said, Supreme Court decisions are inapplicable to the IRS. What?
What?
What? Yeah. The IRS is above the law? No, they're not above the law. So there is no legal constitutional basis to have a direct, unapportioned tax on the labor of the American people. It's a fraud, but they pay it because they're scared not to. Just like any criminal protection racket.
Of course.
If they're going to put you in jail, they're going to scare you, but it's not by law. It's by force.
You pay yours?
I file.
Yeah.
I do file. I tell everybody to file because I don't want to see them in jail. I don't want to see people going to jail. My issue is a much bigger issue. My issue is to shut down the Federal Reserve System. Because to me, the Federal Reserve System is the head of the beast. And the wars we're involved in America today, the problems we're involved in, the reason our borders are open and not closed is all because of the Federal Reserve System and their move to have a one-world government and a world without borders.
You believe this?
I know so. It's not like I believe it. It's a fact. I mean, if you were the president on 9/11 and you believed that terrorism caused 9/11 and all these Americans died, the first thing you would do is shut down the borders to protect your citizens.
I say it every day.
The first thing you would do.
I say it every day.
But they never shut down the borders. Never. Instead, what they do is tell you have to have an identity card.
Yeah.
You have to have an RFID chip. You have to be searched everywhere you go. They've taken away your freedoms. But government's job is to protect your freedoms while guaranteeing your security, not to take away your freedoms and control your life.
No, I agree. I saw that congressional. It's a House bill that looks like it can go through. $3 billion, that's $11 billion to have secure IDs for everyone. and when they talked about building a fence, they said, "Oh, you can't build a fence; it's too expensive."
Right.
But they're going to spend taxpayer money to make sure that you're. And I thought to myself, when I first read you, and I thought, well, why would the Bush administration or the federal government not? I mean, I've been over why don't they seal the border? I don't even have an answer for it anymore.
You know why they don't seal the borders? Because the bankers don't want it. They want a world without borders. You have the SPP, right? We're familiar with SPP?
That, sure.
Tell
the audience.
Bush, Vincenti Fox, and the head of Canada, I forget his name.
It was Bishop at the time.
They
went on spring break.
Right.
They went to Waco,
and they made an agreement that by 2010 they're going to merge the 3 countries together. Okay? It's called Security and Prosperity Partnership Agreement.
Right.
It's on the White House website, and I don't want to live in I don't want to live with Mexico, Canada, and America being one country and losing this Constitution. Our Constitution is the greatest document for government ever, and it's being trashed. It's being destroyed, and I refuse to allow that to happen. And that's why I made this movie. There's no law that makes you pay an income tax. The Federal Reserve is a private bank and the people who own that bank create money for this country. They control our government. They're unelected people. The same thing as the Bank of England is the same thing. They're a private bank. All the private banks of the world are controlling the governments of the world.
And that was Jefferson's warning. Don't do this.
Don't do that. And that people don't understand that. And the voting machines are corrupt today.
You believe that?
We know so. When you see the movie, you'll see one of the people who fixed the machines, who corrupt the machines. Not that I believe it, it's a fact. People know they're no good anymore. This whole country has become a country of spin.
Where do you put a beginning on it, where unabated people come into the country?
Well, in my view, it started in 1913 when the Federal Reserve came into existence.
But after the Second World War, what happens to this country?
Well, in the Second World War, you started the Social Security, which was the first time government was able to take money out of your paycheck. You see, and by doing that, then they started bringing the income tax on your labor back, and they started taking out of your paycheck because the Social Security allowed them. They did it first with Social Security. Everybody agreed to it because they thought it was a good retirement plan.
There was great fear in the country at the time as well.
But by allowing them to take money out of your out of your checking account with Social Security, it then allowed them, when they reimposed the income tax, to take it out of your because people got used to it, so they could take it out of your check for income taxes now. It started with Social Security. You know, it's the old frog theory. You
turn it up a little bit.
A little bit at a time. In the old days, your Social Security card said not to be used for identification.
Right.
Now it's just,
absolutely.
Right? Absolutely. It's a little bit of time so people don't notice.
Yeah.
But they're boiling you to death. And the fact is, this country is no longer a free country. It's a country that's being run as a tyrannical country. It's a fascist country run by government and corporations. And in many ways, it's evil.
And you said to me, we were talking about, and then I promise we'll get to the phones, our lines are just jammed. You said to me before we began, and I asked you the question I ask on a radio show, you're the manager of the ball team, you stand at the top of the dugout steps and you're looking down the bench, who do you send in? I don't see anybody.
No, I don't see any people coming down the line politically that are going to help save this country. I think it's going to be up to the people to save this country. I think we need massive marches on Washington, boycotts, go back to what Gandhi did, what Martin Luther King did, and do what we did in the Revolution with George Washington, and let them know we're not going to take this anymore. I don't want to lose America. I don't want to lose this country to the bankers and the people the bankers control, like George Bush and Hillary Clinton. I don't want to lose. It doesn't matter which one it is. I say in the movie, stop being good Democrats, stop being good Republicans, and start being good Americans. And being a good American means freedom of the individual, not freedom of the institutions.
I'd like to do this. Let's show the next clip, and the film, Aaron's documentary, will be playing at the Regency Theaters, Tamarack Square on Hampden Avenue. Now, it's only going to show this weekend, September 29th and 30th.
No, it's going to stay there.
Oh, it is?
Oh, yeah, it's just opening this weekend.
I am sorry. I apologize. I'm misreading this. Showing this weekend only. I said September. Oh, and then after the 7:30 evening show, you're going to be there. That's what I've read.
No,
so,
September 29th and September 30th, okay. I'll be there to do question and answer after both shows.
Okay.
But the movie's staying there. It's not just playing 2 nights.
Okay, then I do apologize. But
come out Friday and Saturday and see the movie. Yeah. It's going to rock your world.
Let's take a look at this clip. And again, this will be this documentary, Freedom to Fascism, and my notes are wrong. The documentary will be playing at the Regency Theaters, Tamarack Square on Hampden, over on Hampden, people know where that is, and on September 29th and 30th, after the 7:30 show. That's it. You'll be there and do Q's and A's.
Exactly.
Let's take a look at this, and then we'll take your calls.
Is there a law that requires people to file a 1040?
Not explicitly, but it's certainly implied.
Well, implied by force.
Yeah.
But is there a law?
I can't cite a law, no. I cannot. But, if they think it's the law and they have all the guns, it's an authoritarian approach.
Well, yeah, but that's authoritarianism.
Yeah.
That's not a country run by law. Do you think America is going deeper and deeper into becoming a police state? And if so, in what ways do you see that as a congressman?
Yeah, I think we're moving in that direction because there's not much we can do without permission. The absence of a police state is that people are free, and if you don't commit crimes, you can do what you want. But today, you can't open up a business, you can't develop land, you can hardly do anything. You can't go to the bank, you can't go to the doctor without the government knowing what you're doing. And they talk about medical privacy, that's gone. Financial privacy, that's gone. The right to own property, that's essentially gone. So you have to get permission from the government from almost everything. And if that is the definition of a police state, that you can't do anything unless the government gives you permission, we're well on our way. This is something that people eventually, I hope, will get sick and tired of and say, enough is enough.
Jam lines. All right, let's go. Here we go. This is Robert. Robert, good evening and welcome to the show.
Good evening. Enjoyed watching the film clip.
Yeah, interesting.
I had to say, earlier I noticed you made the comment that you thought maybe the people would rise up.
I didn't say that's what Aaron said that. It would take the people to do that.
Right. I just never felt that the people will. I think they've been cowed, they're intimidated, and they're apathetic.
Do you believe they should rise up?
I think it would be a good idea, but they'd be quashed. I don't think the government would cease for 1 minute to quash it in a violent manner.
Yeah.
And
but rising up, I don't think necessarily means like the old Irish Revolutionary, the rising.
Right, I understand.
Yeah, I don't. That's not what I talk about.
Right.
I'm talking about like what Martin Luther King and Gandhi did. I think that people should rise up. I think they will rise up because people will not take. There's millions and millions of people in America know that there's something wrong. I heard a song the other month, and the song was titled "There's Something in the Air," but it's not on the airwaves. Mm-hmm. And that's pretty much what's happening in this country. There are millions of people who are fed up with what's happening in this country, don't know where to turn, don't know what to do, and they're sick and disgusted of what's happening. And they will rise up because that's the way people do things. Well, and when you can have nonviolent marches and boycotts, see, the government cannot do anything unless we cooperate. They depend on our cooperation. Once we stop cooperating, there's nothing they can do.
See, if you could do it in a organized fashion, that's good. But what I think is, as soon as it got momentum, they would take control and put it down.
One thing,
well, you're a defeatist. Yeah. I don't believe that.
No, I'm a realist. I'm seeing what's going on in this country.
But one of the things that you're starting to see, for instance, on the issue of illegals, people are blowing off, okay, call me this name, call me that name, but the anger is building. And or for instance, the war in Iraq or the Bush foreign policy things, they're, in spite of people telling you that everything's okay, it's not okay. And I think that there's again, we're using the word the awakening. I think it's more than a rising. I think it's an awakening. And one thing we know for sure, in politics, if enough people move in one direction, inevitably some politician tries to run out and lead the parade. And just look across the city through the events that we've seen in the state. We have, with one or two exceptions, some terrible examples, and they're politicians. They're not statesmen.
The truth, may I say one more thing?
Sure, of course.
The truth is, the Congress has the legal authority to shut down the Federal Reserve System. If you shut down the Federal Reserve System, you have enough people demanding it, and the Federal Reserve System gets shut down, this country will return to normalcy again. That you have to cut down the head of the beast. And I believe we have the ability to close down the Federal Reserve System, and they're going to be screaming. And if you go see my movie, at the end of the movie, there's a call to action for what the American people can do to save this country from where it's heading. And I suggest you see the movie and take the call to action to heart.
This is Jack. Jack, you're up. Good evening.
Hey, good evening, Peter. Good evening, Mr. Russo.
Good evening, Jack.
Peter, you know me. I'm the early guy, the exterminator that called you early in the morning.
Of course I know who you are, sure.
But I had a question for Mr. Russo. I'm going to see your movie, and I just, I listen to Peter's show every morning. There's a lot of things going on right now that is
ask your question. Jack, we got jam lines, so you got to get your question.
As just the average citizen, what is it we can do on a local level, maybe not so much the national level? What can we do, you think, to stem this tide?
I'll tell you what I think you can do. I think anybody that's running for office, do not vote for them unless they're willing to sign an affidavit that they will vote to shut down the Federal Reserve System. Congress has the authority to do that. Anybody running for senator, anybody running for Congress in this state, do not vote for them unless they're willing to sign an affidavit saying...
But they won't. I mean, reality says they won't.
Excuse me?
I mean, reality says...
Well, if reality says they won't...
They won't.
And we can't organize enough people to make it happen, then we're going to lose. But my belief is that I can see off my website, there are thousands upon thousands of people on my website that want to shut down the Federal Reserve System. And a lot of times politicians want to go to churches and get the congregations to vote for them. You don't let them speak unless they want to sign that affidavit. The American people have to be heard and recognize the fact that the biggest problem this country has is the illegal Federal Reserve System, that they're running our country, that the people behind this reserve system are running this country. And until we shut that down, we're never going to succeed, because it's not Republicans and Democrats. You must shut down the Federal Reserve System.
Jack, thanks. What I was getting ready to come over and see tonight, and I'm watching, we've had a terrible tragedy, school shootings again in our state, but interspersed are all these commercials for people running for office. And 80% of them, they're attacking each other, and 20% they're promising what they're going to do. And I know most of these people.
It's all such deceit.
Yeah, it is.
It's
I mean,
deceit.
this guy says something, this guy attacks him, then they run the 527s where they say this, and then they attack that guy, and then they attack this woman, and then this guy promises, and that guy promises. And I know these people. It's all hooey.
Of course it's hooey. You need a statesman. You need people who really care, who are sincere, who are honest. Sincerity is very important. There's no sincerity left in politics. They'll say whatever they have to say to get into office. It doesn't mean anything, their word. Politicians will sell their soul for $1. That's the bottom line. We need to bring people into office who are sincere and honest, who care and understand the Constitution. We have a Constitution here. Live by it. And until you have until elections are not run by the amount of money you have.
But they are.
Well, they are now. I'm telling you, get rid of the Federal Reserve System, and you'll find everything in this country change.
This is Grant. Grant, you're on the show. Good evening.
Yeah, I felt for years that our country was kind of going towards fascism, or at least stronger than what like Russia was. As Russia declined and we saw their freedoms growing, we've kind of seen ours lose.
It
We've lost a lot of ours. Another thing is, how can a country that goes to another country to impress freedom upon their people sit there and justify torturing citizens to get information that they are claiming to us as Americans is beneficial to us? Where does it end? I mean, next is us.
You must understand something. We did not go to Iraq to bring freedom to Iraq. We're in Iraq, and we keep talking about promoting democracy. What we're promoting is a one world government, a new world order. When they use the word democracy, take that word democracy out and put in New World Order, One World Order, globalization. Put in any of those words in its place of democracy. That's what it's about. But what they use democracy as a spin word, because you think we are a democracy and democracy equates to freedom. Democracy does not equate to freedom. Understand that.
And it's the same as the elections. It's all a spin.
Exactly. You got it.
Thank you. Let me ask you this. What's the ultimate aim? And what does it look like when they get there? If what you say is true and what others say is true, and there's many, many people that believe as you believe, I'm sure you know that, what does it look like when they get there?
Well, I can tell you, I was friends with one of the Rockefeller family, okay? And they were very much behind the Federal Reserve System, the banking, the Council on Foreign Relations, and we were very good friends. And he told me that what they really want to do is have a one world government without borders. First you have the European Union, the European Constitution,
the EU.
which the European people voted down, by the way, but they're doing it anyway.
Yeah.
Now they want the North American Union. Right. Then they have the one currency. Now they want to do
they have their own standing army.
Yep. But now they want a North American Union.
Yeah.
They want, and then what they want to do is bring everybody together under one.
The Amero is there.
The Amero, the currency,
yeah,
exactly.
I didn't know it is there.
And so their plan is to have a government for the world. They want to do it through the UN. Right, and have everybody on this earth implanted with an RFID chip.
You believe that?
I know that. Didn't you hear the congressman, the senator, asking the Supreme Court justice how he's going to rule on that in my clip? You think he asked them for no reason? They're already implanting people with chips. The national ID card, which becomes law by May 2008, it's going to have an RFID chip in it. Okay, everything is done in stages. After the RFID chip goes in the card and in your passport, it's going to go into your body. That's what they're going to try and do. There's no question about it. And they're not going to do it through law. They're going to do it because you won't be able to live without it. All your money is going to be in that chip. It's going to be a cashless society.
Yeah, I mean, I've read many, many futurists who say the time of wealth will be simply wire transfers or credit transfers.
It's computer money. Look, when you go to the bank to borrow money, let's say you're borrowing $50,000 or $1 million, whatever amount of money you're borrowing, and you go to the bank to borrow the money, and they approve your loan, and they sit at a computer, and all of a sudden you have $50,000 in your bank account. Where'd that money come from? Mm-hmm. It was created out of thin air. There was no money. But now you have to work and pay them interest to these guys who made the money from nothing. You have to pay them principal and interest for the rest of your life for something that cost them nothing to make. It's slavery. It's slavery. And what they're doing, everything is going through computer chips, through debit cards. Credit cards. First it was gold, then it was currency,
silver, yeah,
right? Then it was credit cards. Now it's debit cards, Then it's chips. It's just one thing leads to the next. I mean, in the movie, we explain how they're doing it. We show you the evidence that it's happening. This is for real. And people in America better wake up and not accept that national ID card. They better reject that card. Right. That's part of the civil disobedience.
But if you've seen in Homeland Security and Patriot and a number of different acts, including we're going through it here, we've had so many illegals forging so many documents.
Right.
And
that's why you need an RFID chip.
Well, that's right. We'll leave the border open, but then we'll tell you, you must have this.
That's why I leave the border open. People come in. Now, listen, we can't tell who's who, so you better get a chip. You better get an ID card. Instead of shutting down the border.
You believe that's why that's the...
Well, I know why. I don't believe. I know it. When you say believe it, it's like I think it. Yeah. I know it. I've had these conversations with these people. I know what they're doing. And this is for real. And it's ugly. And it must be stopped. And I'm telling you something. The solution is the Federal Reserve System. It's like the Wizard of Oz. Who's the wizard? All of a sudden you pull back the curtain and you see what the truth is. Yeah. I'm trying to tell you, the truth is the Federal Reserve System is the biggest problem we have in this country. It's a private bank owned by private individuals who are controlling this country. And it must be stopped.
This is Margie. Margie, you're on the show. Good evening.
Yeah, Mr. Russo, what nationality are you?
I'm
American.
I'm American.
No, American what?
American, what do you mean American what?
What's your nationality?
I was born Jewish.
Oh, I see.
Oh, I see. You think I'm one of those Jewish bankers in the Jewish conspiracy?
Margie, why is that important to ask him what his nationality is?
Because if you don't like America and our government the way it's run, why don't you get the hell out of here?
There you go.
Well, that's a good answer. Why don't you just become part of the slave state?
I'm not a slavery to nobody. Jesus takes care of me.
All right.
Okay, there you go. I wish you the very best. If you felt that Jesus took care of you, you wouldn't have said what you said.
Yeah, that's... This is Chet. Chet, you're on the show. Good evening.
Hey, guys. Peter, great guest.
Thanks.
I just had a real quick question. You've had so many global questions, but like just on a local thing with what your movie was showing, do you have a problem with any taxes you pay? I mean, what I'm getting at is...
No, I don't.
The taxes we pay, they fix potholes in the street. They build streets. They build street lights, stuff like that. How do you address those type of things?
I have no problem with that. When I talk about the income tax, I'm talking strictly about the fact that the Constitution prohibits a tax on your labor. The Founding Fathers understood that each and every one of us owns our own life. And because we own our life, we own our labor. And so when we work for somebody, and we give them our labor, we're giving them something we own, and in return they're giving us dollars, which they own, and it's an exchange. And
I totally agree with you.
And
my question is, where does the money come from then to do certain things if we're not going to use our tax?
Some of that...
Let me explain that to you. Because the fact is that the money you pay on your labor, and this is a misconception that most Americans have, the taxes you pay on your labor goes to pay interest to the banks and to government waste. Not one penny of your income tax on your labor goes to fix roads, goes to defense, goes to anything that you think for the infrastructure of this country, services you expect. Not a penny of it.
Yeah, if you
when you have your highways are paid for by the gasoline tax,
tires,
your schools are paid for by property taxes, and the fact is that a tax on your labor is illegal. Let me just finish. A tax on corporations is totally legal. But because we've become a fascist country, last year the government collected $927 billion from tax on labor, and only 200 and some odd billion from corporations, which is a legal tax. Just reverse it. You own your labor. You have a right to make a living, to use your labor to support you and your family. And so I have no objection to taxes, you know, on a sales tax or the property tax or whatever it may be. I'm just telling you that the tax on your labor is illegal, it's unconstitutional, and it's against everything this country was founded on.
In the founding of the nation, they're called user taxes. They would put in toll roads or canals, and if you floated in the canal, you paid. If you rode the railroad, then there was a tax on that, because I mean, not actually in the creation of the railroads, but today you do it with Amtrak. But he's right. I mean, if you look at roads are gasoline taxes, tire taxes, you know, when you buy new tires or tires and those kinds of things. User taxes, cigarettes, alcohol, they're user taxes. But you know, school taxes,
excise taxes.
Yeah, indeed, tariffs, but what the guest is suggesting is federal income taxes, or for that matter, state income taxes, simply support the government.
No, they support interest payments and waste, and nothing more.
Yeah.
Supporting the government implies that they do something for you. They do nothing with that money. It goes to the banks. That's why they started the Federal Reserve System and the income tax the same year. Because the government now had to pay the banks interest on the money they borrowed instead of making it themselves without interest. The government doesn't have to pay interest to the banks. They can make money themselves without paying any interest on it. That's the point. Why isn't the government doing that?
This is Mark. Mark, you're on the show. Good evening.
Yeah, hi. This is a great topic.
Thank you.
The question I have is, you're calling for the abolishment of the Federal Reserve.
Yes.
And I'm just wondering what type of short-term or even long-term economic effects would happen while we switch over systems from what we have now to what you perceive it should be.
Well, I don't really see any major effect coming out of it unless the Federal Reserve System decides to attack America, you know. It should be a seamless, in other words, whatever the Federal Reserve does, the government can do just as easily. We don't need people like Alan Greenspan and Bernanke telling us how much money to make, which is right out of the Communist Manifesto. I mean, they could work for the government and do it, and we don't have to pay interest.
Okay, but what type of, confidence on the world stage would, because a lot of our debt is owned by foreign governments.
But there should be, but we shouldn't have that debt, is the point. We should be able, the government should be able to.
I mean, if we abolish the Federal Reserve, like right now, when all these foreign governments lose confidence in the U.S.
It's the foreign central banks. It's not the foreign governments. It's the foreign central banks.
In the morning, and I'm using this as an illustration. Sure. It goes on 24 hours a day. But in the morning before business begins, the borrowing begins, and it's what I've talked about many times. If it's your home, your business, or your family, and when you get up in the morning, if you go down to the local banker and borrow $100 to cover your expenses for the day, you take in your paycheck, you don't pay that $100 back. In fact, you don't pay your mortgage payments, you don't pay to keep your electricity on, and you go out and buy a new Ferrari. Eventually, the bank's going to come and knock on the door for the money.
Right.
And in spite of this, the tremendous debt. I mean, the country is in an enormous debt right now. I think it's close to $900 billion. I think is the debt.
The debt? It's a lot more than that.
I thought it was like in a trillion.
No, but I'm talking about just in the last, I think, 2 or 3 years. It's $900 billion.
You mean per year?
Per year.
Oh, per year.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
And
I mean, there's unfunded liabilities in this country. We have unfunded liabilities of close to $80 trillion that have to be funded, and that money is going to be created out of thin air. It's massive inflation.
Yeah.
And what we should do is the government should make the money backed by gold, so it limits how much money they can make. And that's how this country. That's what the economic system of this country should be. It should be real money. As Jefferson said, paper is poverty. It is only the ghost of money and not money itself. And that's the truth. Anybody can print paper. There are people now, there's an organization called Norfed, which is out there making silver coins, real silver coins. They just got a letter from the mint. If they keep doing it, they're going to go to jail.
Right.
For making silver coins, legitimate money. The dollar is defined by silver. The definition of a dollar is defined in grams of silver. And yet our government is telling them, because they have silver, they're going to go to jail. Think about what's happening in this country. Everything is perverted. It's upside down. We're no longer a free country. We're controlled. We're controlled by the media. We're controlled by the government. We're controlled by the Fed. Everybody goes into debt at an early age today. You know, it's a debt-run country, and we have to get out of debt.
Thank you. Let's go here. This is Bob. Bob, you're on the show. Good evening.
Good evening. Bo Kreitz, who ran for president 2 or 3, I don't know, maybe 10 years ago or something like that, he said that the U.S. could, the Congress could pay $150 million, and that's all it takes to acquire the stock of the Federal Reserve, and then to cancel the stock.
Right.
He also said, in a nice way, he said he would have Congress coin one big old buffalo chip out of buffalo's finest excrement and take it down to the Federal Reserve, because Congress they got the rules. They make the rules. So that $150 million chip will cancel the stock. Also wanted to say a few other things.
I'm not sure 150 million is the correct number. I've been told 485 million, so I'm not sure what the right number is, but it's the same idea.
Okay. I also think that a caller a couple of times ago, he said that what would it take to get the ball rolling? I think that the United States, it won't be just the U.S., it'll be taxpayers in other countries who will see that their systems are based upon the debt of their central banks.
Exactly.
It won't be the central banks that are going to uprise. It'll be the people.
Exactly.
And now, exactly what that event will be, probably be the collapse of the Social Security system in anywhere from 15 to 25 years. At that point in time, you'll have a big enough event that could happen. However, in order to do what you're asking, the people have to understand the implications way ahead of when they're going to get really angry about the
right.
Social
But you know,
Security
well, when you see my movie, you'll understand why I think what I think. My movie is getting standing ovations. Ordinary people are waking up to the truth, and I think this movie is going to have a dramatic effect on America and wake people up to what's happening. We were in the black community in Chicago last night, and I can tell you, they are going crazy. They want to put together million-man marches on Washington already when they learn what was going on. This thing is going to be huge, because people are very upset. I don't think we have to wait 25 years.
Well,
I think we're in the midst of it now.
There's one more event that I think we have to do. We have to go full steam ahead to get ourselves energy efficient, not energy efficient, but energy independent as fast as possible. Because if we collapse the debt, then the countries that have the oil won't sell it to us.
Well, if you have a gold-backed currency, they would love to sell it to you.
Yeah, no.
Okay, thanks.
That's thank you. All right, let's go here. This is Jack. Jack, you're on the show. Good evening.
Hi.
Hi.
You know, I got one thing. You know, you said that didn't we get rid of the silver certificates in about 1969? Went to a Federal Reserve note, which isn't worth the paper it's printed on.
Yeah.
But anyway, you're talking about getting people together. How can we get people together when the government is promoting a division between the Mexicans and the whites and the blacks? And just, you got a prime example of it with Margie there, didn't you?
Well, that's
I'll hang up now. And
you're not going to get 100% of the people together. That's for certain. But you can get millions of people together who understand the truth, who are colorblind to race and all those kind of bigotry. There are millions and millions of people across America who are willing to stand up and do what's necessary. And we've done it before, and we can do it again. And I intend to be part of that, and I intend to help organize that. And from my point of view, from what I see happening, I see it beginning. I see the seeds of it more than starting. I see the idea festering, and I see people willing to come on board. So I can tell you from my experience, I think it's very feasible. Go to my website, freedomtofascism.com, and then sign up to get email alerts, sign up to volunteer, and become part of the movement.
This is Renee. Hey, Renee, you're on the show. Good evening. Renee.
Good evening.
Hi.
Yes, you have hit the nail on the head here. I applaud you.
Thank you.
I'm ready. I want to know when to move forward.
Well,
I just want to know, where can I see the movie? I'm in Colorado Springs.
Okay. In the Springs, I don't know, but again, the film is at Tamarack Square over in Hamden, and it starts on the 29th.
This Friday night.
Friday night, and Aaron will be there Friday night and Saturday night after the 7:30 evening show, and he'll do Q's and A's with the audience those 2 nights, and then it's gonna continue there. The thing, this call, do something. But if you go up and down the list of the candidates, and we had this discussion this morning, we had an alternative for governor on the radio show. Nice man, snowball in hell, because we have two candidates running to replace an outgoing governor, a term-limited governor.
Right.
Frankly, there's not much of a choice. And they're spending their time, and Renee can be my witness if she's watching television, their ads attack each other, and then every once in a while they make a promise.
Right.
Short of that, I kind of have half a notion of what it's going to be like if either one of these guys becomes the next governor. All politics is local. Tip O'Neill said it.
I agree.
And so, what do you do on a national level? What do you do at the end of this man's term? Thank you, Renee. What do you do at the end of this guy's term?
Well, first of all, I would tell Renee, since you want to get involved, go on the website and sign up. Register. Anybody listening to the show tonight who wants to get involved, who knows that this country needs to be fixed, stand up and take part in what's necessary to happen, because we're going to do something about it. And in terms of the politicians are mostly cowards today. They're cowards. They're people who are in it for their own sake. They're not here to serve.
Careerists.
Exactly. And if they are here to serve, most of them don't know what the Constitution says, don't know what they're supposed to be serving for, and they don't understand that America's not even a democracy. And so we need to get people into office that are committed people who want to return this country to its founding principles. That's what's important. And when elections are not run by how much money you have, by when networks have to put people on the air who have ideas, instead of money,
slick ads.
Not only that, but I mean, all the institutions back candidates. They promote. They give them money.
Totally agree.
Right, and so it's part of the fascism. So somebody who really cares won't get any money.
I agree.
They won't get any money because they care. They want to do the right thing. Anybody who supports the Constitution, you'll never see them getting any money. You'll never see them getting any money.
It's interesting. One of my mantras is also public finance of elections, short-term access. And it doesn't work that way.
No, it doesn't. But why, since the airways belong to the American people, why aren't the networks forced, as part of their licensing, to put on all qualified candidates who can get on the ballot in the debates, so people can hear new ideas?
Equal time got thrown out the window.
Yeah, well, exactly. But I'm saying, so what happens is, since they won't do that, then the only people who get on the air, the people who can buy the time. And that's who the corporations want to back, because they're supporting.
Sure.
Okay, so that's the problem we face. It's fascism. It's big government and big corporations working together. That is fascism, and that's what we're dealing with in this country. This country has been stolen by the Federal Reserve from the people of this country. This country was once a country of individuals. Now it's a country of institutions running everything.
This is Jason. Jason, you're on the show. Good evening.
Yes, sir. Good evening. I spoke with you last week. I was the one who first made the comment about the retired military. And I want to assure you both that there's a large number of men like me. I'm 52, ex-Navy SEAL instructor, that are just waiting for this. Our country is so corrupt and out of hand that it took organization to build this country. It's going to take the same organization to turn it over.
Yeah, but what it doesn't. I mean, that's your anger speaking. The reality would suggest.
No, it's his mind thinking.
No, I'm talking about organization. There are thousands of ex-military like me who sit and watch our country being perverted this way, who are waiting for the opportunity to. It's like he's talking about Martin Luther King and stuff like that. I'm talking about organized protest.
That's what we're
properly done.
That's what we're doing. Why don't you go on the website and join up, and become part of it and volunteer to help and get other military men involved with us. So you can use your sphere of influence. You can help. Get on the website, volunteer to help, get a hold of other Army people, other ex-Army, and let them know we're organizing to do that. That's what we're doing. Exactly what you're suggesting is what we're doing. Join on board with us.
Well, I intend to. I had no idea you existed.
Well, that's why I'm on television tonight talking about it. That's why I made the movie.
All right, thanks. Let's go here. This is Kevin. Kevin, you're up. Good evening.
Hi, good evening, Peter.
Hi.
I have really no problem believing what your guest is talking about tonight. But he's right as far as people needing to wake up. I was just wondering, what type of people finance your movie, and how long did it take you to produce it?
I started making the movie in May of 2004. I just finished the final cut just a couple of weeks ago, basically. The show, and they're airing here Friday, will be the first time that the final cut is really being seen. I financed it myself because I didn't want anybody involved. We had many volunteers, people who wanted to work on the movie for free, and it's been a labor of love. And if I had financed it the way I normally make my movies, like Trading Places or The Rose or the movies I made, I would have had to go to the Hollywood studios, and I never would have made the movie because they wouldn't have financed it and they won't distribute it. You know, I mean, all the studios saw the movie. I shouldn't say all, most of them saw the movie, and they all loved the movie. Said it's a great piece of work. But you know, we don't want to distribute it. We don't want to be audited by the IRS. We don't want this. We don't want to take on the Federal Reserve.
Right.
You know, and so we're doing it ourselves, and we're having great success. And soon enough, it'll be out on DVD. It'll be on the internet. You know, everybody can watch it, and it's a labor of, you know, it's what Paine did during the Revolutionary War. Common sense. You know, he wrote those pamphlets. I'm going to make movies describing what's happening in America. This is volume 1. You know, and people want to see movies. They don't read so much anymore.
Well, that's great. Good luck to you.
Hi, man.
Go
Thanks.
on the website. Volunteer to help.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, let's go to Pete. This is Pete. Hey, Pete, you're on the show. Good evening.
How are you doing tonight,
I'm
Peter?
good, man. Thank you.
It's good. I want to say thank you, Aaron, for what you're doing.
Thank you, Pete.
More people. I mean, I've been very aware of what is going on with our government, looking at the newamericancentury.org website and what these men are doing who say that there are our leaders and what they're doing. And I just appreciate, after I'm done talking with you, I'm going to sign up and just keep on. We got to do, like you said, we need to do what Gandhi preached and what King preached about having nonviolent revolution, so that the government is aware that we're tired of this, what they're trying to sell us and what the corporations are trying to sell us.
Exactly.
And I just appreciate you making this movie and getting people to get started so that they're aware and being a focal point to get this movement going.
Thank you. God bless you. We have a slogan for the movie now: one family, one movement, freedom for all. That's what we're about.
We have about 3 or 4 minutes left. Recap this again, and what do you, and how you came to this point to make this film, and how do you see all of this?
Well, my thing is that I wasn't happy with what was happening in the country. I kept seeing little things happening, little problems. When Ross Perot ran for president, you know, I was very dissatisfied. When he ran, I said, "Oh my God, there are millions of people who feel like I feel," because I thought I was alone in my feelings. You know, I saw things happening, and I wasn't happy with it. And then when he ran, and I saw many millions of people were unhappy, then I decided to get more active in politics because there was a base to work with. And I went out and made a video called "Mad as Hell," which was a bit over the top, I must say. And but yet the content was very good. The style in which I did it was a little strange, I must admit. But and then I ran for governor of Nevada in '98, and I came in second in a 4-way race with almost 30% of the vote. They said I wouldn't get 2%. And that's when I found out about the voting machines and what's going on with the voting machines and the Sequoia Pacific machine and the Diebold machine. You know, those machines, the source code of those machines determines who wins the election. Whoever programs the source code decides who wins the election. And the people who are in charge of the voting machines, the people, not the people who build it, but the elected officials, they have no say in what the source code says. They can't even check the source code. So let's assume, for an example, that it's programmed that every 3 votes I only get 2, and you get 3. So they convert to win. And there's no way to know how you voted. There's no way to double check it. This is no paper ballots. So you must have paper ballots. So when I ran for governor and I saw the corruption of the voting machines, And then I saw what happened at Ruby Ridge when they killed that child, shot him in the back, and blew the mother's head off. And Waco when they killed all those people for no reason. I just said, how could this be happening in America? How could this be happening here? And I got more and more involved and more interested to see what was going on.
Was there a tipping point?
I think Waco was my tipping point. When I saw what happened to Waco, I said, I'm going full-fledged. This is disgusting. They killed all those people for no reason. There was no need for those people to die and to be killed in that fire and burned to death. That was the most disgusting event. The war in Iraq, a disgusting event. When I heard Rumsfeld talking about shock and awe, oh, let's everybody go home, watch on television shock and awe, as if it was a 4th of July fireworks. There are people under that concrete being killed and maimed, children and women and men dying for no reason. For no reason, you know? I had a friend, one of the Rockefellers, he said to me, Aaron, what do you think women's liberation was about? And I said, I think I had conventional thinking. And I said, I think it was about women having equal right to work with men, equal pay, you know. He said, you know what, Aaron, you're an idiot. And he started to laugh at me. I said, what do you mean? He says, you want to know what that was about? So tell me. He said, we, the Rockefeller Foundation, financed that women's lib movement. You want to know why? For 2 reasons. Half the population wasn't taxable before. And the second reason is, now the kids go to our schools at an early age, and we mold them. There's no more family at home to take care of the kids. The state becomes the family now, Aaron. You get it? And that's how this country is working. It's run by evil. It's run by evil forces. And people in this country better wake up to the truth and save this country from what's happening.
How fast that hour went. Aaron's documentary, America, Freedom to Fascism, playing at the Regency Theater's Tamarack Square on Hampden Avenue. It'll be shown this weekend, Friday and Saturday, and Aaron will be there after the 7:30 shows, then it continues its run. And he'll stick around for Q's and A's with the audience. And you can check out his website, www.freedomtofascism.com.
And the 2 is T-O, not the number 2.
Yeah, but it's T-O, right?
Exactly.
All right, everybody, what a show. And Inside Out Live will be off for a little while because we have election coverage with Colorado Decides 006. Maybe we can get him on the radio show tomorrow, see what he does. All right?
Thank you very much.
See everybody tomorrow. Thanks.